Hi everyone, this is Bagadon at StockMarketCaddy.com. It is July 6th at about 7 p.m. Folks, I wanted to do a little educational video for you, whether you're a trader or not. And we readily admit that these markets are rigged. It's why we do what we do. It's why we take care of our own money. It's why we built Stock Market Caddy. And we make these videos for people to watch, listen to, agree, disagree. We don't really care. It's entirely up to you. But we know we've tried to show in the past, areas in which the markets are rigged. Rigged by whom? We would say in general the cronies. Who are the cronies? The banksters, the big money banks, the politicians that are in bed with the banksters, the Clintons of the world, the Goldman Sachs of the world, the Bank of Americas, the Congressman Ryan. Doesn't matter. Any of the politicians. Those are the cronies. We're just the peons. But what I wanted to share with you is there's a product in the marketplace called the VIX. And not to get into the nuts and bolts of the VIX, but you have VIX futures, you have spot VIX, you have ETF VIX. And for years, people, traders, investors, investment class have used the VIX as kind of a fair gauge as to whether or not the market was being fearful or being greedy. And it would make maybe or begin to make some investment decisions based off of that, particularly in the futures market because it's a leverage product and it's looking at the price of the VIX in the future. And if you notice here, the VIX was very, very high back in 2009, and for the last 8 or 9 years as I bring this in, it has just been brought all the way down. And I say brought all the way down because there have been times in the last 8 or 9 years there have been some big things going on, and every time the VIX has popped its head up when folks may have decided, maybe I should get my money out of the market, or maybe I ought to get my money out away from these banks. I'm getting ripped off. It gets hosed down. And the question is, how and why. And I wanted to share something with you. When the bookies wanted to fix a horse race, it was really difficult because when a horse would win, they would test the blood of a horse, and so if they drugged the horse, they would know. So what they would do is they would drug all the other horses and slow them down except the horse that they wanted to win. So when he got his blood tested, he tested pure. So when you go out to rig a market, you may rig it directly, but you also may rig some of the indicators in some of the other markets surrounding, for instance, the S&P, and try to get the same result. So if you can target the VIX and repress the VIX, you can, in essence, push the S&P up, keep everybody calm, keep everybody happy, keep everybody sending their money into the banks, keep interest rates low. Everyone gets so excited too, by the way, and I kind of digress, that, the 30-year mortgage is really low. But think about it on the other end when you retire. They've basically destroyed the fixed income market. Anybody who has any savings, and if you're in your 30, 35, 40 years old and think one day you're going to have a fixed income market, you are absolutely delusional. It has been blown up. You're going to have to take risk, and you're going to have to learn how to make money off of your money, and you're going to have to learn how to do it in a rigged environment, and these guys are getting really, really good. But in any case, so I just wanted to identify what this is, and then I want to bring you to a close-up look of the VIX. Let me bring this over here, and this was on June 23rd, leading up to the Brexit, and you can see this is just what we call a point and figure chart, but it's reflecting the price of the VIX, and the VIX has been hovering between 16 and 17, really no big deal, and it was kind of getting a little elevated leading into the Brexit. Then right before the Brexit on June 23rd, right where this yellow line was the just about the bottom of the VIX. And then as the results started coming in from the UK on the Brexit, you could see that the VIX futures that were open started to spike, and they started to run. And as they started to run, predicting fear in the market started to crash. And when we got up here at about 27, people's cell phones were going off, and the stock market was down about 750 points. And if you had gotten up in the middle of the night to go pee, you would have seen that. At around 3 a.m. in the morning, this is right around here, it's about 3 a.m., and the VIX was spiking up to 27, and the market was crashing around 750, and something happened right here. And what happened was nothing, they didn't say, hey, the vote was bad and, we're going to do this or we're going to do that or anything else. No, the vote was the vote. And it was going to be what it was going to be. In fact, later in the morning, Cameron, the premier or the president of Britain, actually resigned. But what the banksters did right here was to triple the margin requirements, the margin, which is the cost to trade these contracts. And if you research this, and I invite you to do this, Google Greenspan, who is the Federal Reserve Chairman, and he said in 1996, if you want to pop any kind of a bubble, or you want to control the price of an asset, no matter what that asset is, gold, silver, S&P futures, or the VIX, what do? You increase margin. You don't even have to go near the interest rate. So they trebled the margin here. And lo and behold, watch what happens. Crash. VIX comes right off. And by the time, the next day, we're here, this is probably about 5 in the morning. Look where the VIX is. All the way down here when you woke up. Things were already getting better. Everything was right with the world. The VIX popped up a little bit for one day. But then what they did was they also increased the margin on the market. And I think they exaggerated it. But then what they did was they released the margin on the market, on the S&P, but not on the VIX, so that then people, money started to flow back into the market. And then look, the VIX just fell down. And look, it got all the way back to normal. And this is where we are. And that means that everything is right with the world. That the Brexit don't worry about it. It's got nothing to do with nothing. The fact that 7 huge billion-dollar insurance companies have gated their funds and not letting people have their money. Although one let them out tonight, they said they were going to have to take a 17% haircut, and the banks are crashing and falling, and you can't short them, and there's all kinds of banking issues in Italy. But you know what? Our S&P just keeps making new highs, and this VIX index that registers fear and greed is real down low. So you just keep doing what you're doing. Just don't pay any attention to it, right? That's the game plan, folks. That's how they rig you. But you're going to get gaffed because eventually folks are going to figure out what just happened here. And I don't know if it's going to be in a few days or in another week or two. But I can promise you one thing, even with the increased margin, they're going to probably have to increase it again. Because these markets are being manipulated south. They are being manipulated to keep everybody calm. And these markets are not calm. So in any case, I'm Bagadon at StockMarketCaddy.com. And there's a lot of different games being played in these markets. They are rigged. Just like everything else, Justice Department, Supreme Court, a lot of our institutions going by the wayside. But if you're 30, 40 years old and you think you can just, invest in a mutual fund or in an index fund, make a big fat profit, and then one day live off the fixed income like your grandparents did, you're nuts. Not going to happen. You need to learn from somebody what's going on in these markets and how you're being manipulated and how you're being herded. And it's a coordinated effort. It involves the banks, it involves the crony politicians, it involves the media, all the same people who rigged the elections, the same people who are rigging the Justice Department to get the Clintons off, are the same people rigging the markets and regulating. There isn't anybody looking after your money or your future. Trust me, not a soul. It falls on you. So we kind of tell it like it is. You can follow us. You don't have to. We don't really care. We just do this kind of as a public service announcement. And but these markets are not what you think they are. And there are ways to trade them, but you have to be on your toes. And don't ever forget it. And for those traders, we have a few good days and we have a few good weeks. We never forget. We know what this is, and you got to be on your game. Okay, best of luck to everybody, and I'm Bagadon at StockMarketCaddy.com, and we thank you for the follows, and we hope you enjoy these videos. And if you like this sort of thing, feel free to forward it on. We've also got some other great videos of how they rigged the market back on March 9th of 2009. Check that one out. Be good.